Hello and welcome to Sim Strategy Gaming. I'm Sim. This episode will be about the fourth scenario of Railway Empire 2 around the Great Lakes. Looking at our mission objectives, we see that we are first going to connect 120,000 citizens to our rail network, transport 60 passengers without changing trains from Grand Rapids to Buffalo, and then have a balance of 55,000 per week. And the way that I did this was to build a circular zone here around Lake Erie, connecting our starting city, our capital, to Grand Rapids, to London, and then further on to Buffalo, the mission objective city. So that mission objective will come in very fast, very nicely. And then further on south to Cleveland, through the connection bonus in Foster, and then further on to Toledo before we return back to Grand Rapids. Had been able to afford a double lane here, so then there is one set of trains going clockwise and one set of trains going counterclockwise. Make for a great setup. Starting all our trains in the actual connection bonuses, one here in London, one here in Buffalo, one in Toledo, and then one starting in Foster with direction going to Toledo. And then as we start the train now, we can see that the connection bonuses comes rolling in very nicely. Still haven't gotten any money to buy so many trains, so we only can afford these 4 trains. So then there isn't any train here yet, but the connection bonuses, we can sort of take that into account, build as much rails, lay as much rails as possible with the money that we have and the bonds that we have been able to lay our hands on. Absolutely maximizing the amount of bonds is important and a very, very good strategy. So we can see, oh no, we got some money, and then we can build lay a track here. Then we could use the mountain, really nice freight train. It's sort of late in the game now, so we have access to a lot of really good locomotives, and they are cheap as well because they have all these bonuses. And then now we don't really need a warehouse here just immediately, because this train will have to fill up the storage in Grand Rapids first. You can see now that there's 0 storage here, and I think that's at least the room for 8 or 9 wagons. But now, point out, we already at this point got our first task completed, and it seems to be a little bit of a mistake here, because I only have 34,000 per week, but it comes up so fast in the beginning. So we were able to fulfill our first goal after just 10 days with this setup, which really is good for score, as the score is calculated for how fast we were able to achieve them. So this will go very nice. But you can see now how this corn resource is moved down into Grand Rapids, and then from Grand Rapids distributed all over our rail network. And then we actually got the other one too. We got this, have a balance of 700,000 per week. I think that the game must, in some way, they are calculating also the connection bonuses. And this must be a little bit flawed, but to have this makes for a great score, that we have a balance of 700,000 per week already fulfilled at a little bit more than 2 weeks into the game. That's absolutely fantastic. That's actually beyond fantastic. But now with the connection bonuses that we have, we will be able to buy more trains. We're going to need more trains. Because they are all now, as you can see, pretty filled up. 4 trains on this great zone, just less than 1 train per city. That is of course way too little, but still, one shouldn't just push on more and more and more trains. We have to put up a little bit more trains and see how that is going. Of course, we're going to connect all these little outside of the zone resources. Toledo here needing livestock. Have some livestock coming in from this this little road here, but that will soon become too little, and it's going to need to have an extra a proper railroad connection. And of course up here in Buffalo too, there are two very nice resources that can come in. Buffalo needing this wheat, and then more corn is always a good thing. And then just about 3 months into the game, we have been able to achieve our first set of mission objectives. All of these cities are growing really nice. So just these cities in our original zone, with also now Toledo hooked on to the zone, is more than 120,000 citizens. So that was all right. And then these passengers from Grand Rapids, they are certainly heading for Buffalo. More than enough of passengers to achieve the mission objective fast. Further on, railroad with obstacles. That is going to be a little bit more, perhaps not so much a challenge, but it's going to take a little bit more to found the city of White River and Sudbury, and also reaching all the way up here to Duluth. So let's see how we will do this. You can see now that I've been neglecting to build these supply depots. Put them on now, but then money was really scarce, and we haven't moved that far into the game, so that we'll have to hold back on everything as for as long as possible. And certainly also that you can see with our lines now only have 5 trains going in each direction, and that is more than enough on this stage. One have to be careful and look properly. See here, there are room for more than they have 0 waiting time, so that there are room for more trains, but one shouldn't necessarily fill up to the brim. And I would say the brim is about the waiting time of 5%. It has to do, of course, with how long a journey. A rule of thumb would be to say take the duration and divide it by 3, and that would be that will not be too many trains usually. But it also has to do with how many stations there are, because it's at the stations where the waiting time is there are the most waiting time. So then with 8 stations, a duration of 27 days, I could certainly put up at least 10, 11 trains, I think would do. But then one has to test that and see if waiting time is around 5%. We haven't been able to afford that many station extensions either. But if I were to build a station extension here in Grand Rapids, say, I would now, at this point, when our rail network is so small, so local, then the restaurants would be perhaps the best choice. But if when the rail network expands, then post offices would be a better choice, actually. Look at the quarterly balance and see that the passengers account for more than mail. It starts out with freight being the most profitable, and then passengers, and then mail. But later on, with a bigger empire, mail is most profitable, and then passengers in the middle, and then freight becomes less and less important. But of course, freight builds up the cities, so freight is at the bottom of the building structure, as one needs freight. So then to have a look at the flow of goods, it seemed to me that I haven't built a warehouse here. But one can easily do that and set up a warehouse here. There wouldn't be any conflicts. That must just be due to lack of money. Even now there are 2 corn resources on the same line. There is no demand at the end of the line where the corn is connected, so there will never be a conflict here. There will never be such that this corn from Grand Rapids goes past the Buffalo warehouse. But if I were to put up a station in Syracuse, then I could not have a warehouse in Buffalo. With London, see now, if we build a warehouse here, what will Toronto demand? Toronto has meat by itself, but we can export that meat, and cloth is certainly coming in, but it will need most everything actually. Wheat, corn, lumber, meat. We might have meat being exported. Yes, I think we're going to export that meat as well, because now, even as there are meat on this line and also meat on this extension, the butchery here down in Toledo will never try to supply Toronto through this warehouse, because Toronto will always be filled up, because the factories fill up their own cities first, and then they just export the excess. And now we have moved quite a bit into the game and expanded really nicely pretty much all over the map. All the cities are now connected, almost 18 months into the game. We've been able to make 9 different goods available in Grand Rapids at the same time. Grand Rapids being sort of in the center of everything, so then it gets from several sides. Founded these cities, and also been able to connect the loot and deliver any loads of goods. As soon as the loot is connected, then these loads will be coming in very nicely, and then connect all the cities so that all 15 are connected. And then further on, the Great Lakes Railroad, to be able to achieve an express status between Pittsburgh and Ottawa, and then connect 900,000 citizens to our rail network. I really like this mission objectives that puts up these goals for general growth, because with these circular paths you have a very nice, evenly distributed growth all over. And then one of those things that I had to figure about was transport 60 passengers without changing trains all the way from Syracuse to Duluth, which is on the opposite sides of the map. So that they mustn't change trains at any place on that long line. We'll come back to that later. But see now how we were able to achieve the mission objectives for the rail network with obstacles. The obstacles being all these lakes up here on the border between America, the USA, and Canada. Go through this. See that with our first zone now, the Lake Erie zone here, we added upon and have a 4-lane system, so that there are dedicated passenger lines. These trains, these express trains, they have much lower tractive power, and tractive power being very, very important. I would say tractive power is more important than speed. Speed is only the maximum speed, and as soon as they have several wagons attached to them, the maximum speed will go down a lot. And also if the incline is high, they will certainly not be able to achieve maximum speed. And then keep in mind that freight goods are much, much heavier than express goods. And as long as it's put on express, then of course it will never pick up any passengers, any freight. So that one can go for the super fast expresses. Other than that, we don't really have this excellent, the mixed train. The Santa Fe is a much more modern and better train than the Pacific, but still it has a slower, it is a bit slower, 116 and then 127, but the the Santa Fe is a really nice train, and I've been able to afford to have that. We use that as our main work horse. But with the express lines, we would have to use put up both of these, the dining car and the mail car, and have only express goods. That makes for a really nice extra revenue. Also added upon this little line here, because with this zone, the first zone that we built, there weren't any passengers going from London to Toledo, because this way around here with Grand Rapids being so far to the west, that it would be too long. But now we have this little extra line here in the middle that just goes straight back and forth between London and Toledo, and then we can easily have an express status on this very straight line with low incline, even though there is it's a mixed train, but it's a good mixed train. And then we added upon Pittsburgh on this little extra extension line here that has pretty much the same, just a mixed train that also achieve express status. But then one must be careful that one don't put up too many trains. We could have put up more trains, just 1% waiting time. It can certainly take one more, but there isn't that much traffic because Pittsburgh is so far out on the end of the line. For the other zones, we were only there was only need, or we only had money for. Actually, we have kind of a lot of money, but there is no particular need as of yet to build this into a 4-lane system, because most of the cities are so small, not that small. So actually, I'm going to build a 4-lane system here soon. But for now, as we're building up these cities, a 2-lane system around Lake Ontario will pretty much suffice. And then we built this nice little circle here up in Canada. Let's call this the Ontario zone, this being the Lake Ontario zone, and this being just simply the Ontario zone, with all the with Sudbury and White River, the mission objective settlements, and also Val-d'Or up here. And then to have this offer this express offer this settler bonuses as soon as possible. They are really good. They make for these minuscule little villages way out to become great cities that can start making money. There are so few passengers coming from these tiniest little dots, but only say the least part, even the closest cities, they only have 7 passengers. But with the bigger cities, say with Grand Rapids that have grown a bit, kind of stopped growing now, but you can see here that there's a huge difference. 57 passengers wanting to go to Toledo, and 35 mail bags. And further on, we can see this: the more the cities grow, the more passengers will be there will want to go from those cities. Having a quick look at the train usage, we can see that these big cities of ours now, they are requiring so much. The requirement almost for fulfillment of demand also go up and up. So they require a lot more now, and it's not only more different goods, but also more of the goods that they used to acquire. So say here that Grand Rapids now need 1.7 wagon per week of corn to be 100% fulfilled with corn, while Val-d'Or only needs 0.1. So they of course grow much faster in the beginning. They're much more easy to fulfill their demand when they are small, and this become harder and harder. And we can see now that even though if I built this into a 4-lane system, the trains are still red, and demand is just booming. Further on, around Lake Michigan here, I haven't really built. It's all this. It's not possible to build circles like I would like, because we are not allowed to build on this build bridges here. Just on a few different places we are allowed to sneak past. So this is, the obstacles. And the game sort of lets you, often on other missions, the game lets you build bridges on places that I don't think in the 20th century, the 19th century, they would be able to build a bridge here. So this map in many ways is more realistic than many other maps. Then we added upon this after we circumvented. First I built this zone here because that was mission sensitive to grow Sudbury and White River, and then connected the Ontario zone to the Lake Ontario zone and Lake Erie zone through this line here that goes alongside Lake Huron here. So there will be a connection. But and then after that, I connected the Grand Rapids to Madison through this half moon around Lake Michigan, and then there is the Iowa zone down here with Des Moines and Rochester, Madison, and Minnesota zone here with Minneapolis, Duluth, Rochester. And then it was there is this huge nature park here. I think this forest, and I didn't build anything in particular there except for this. We have this optional task to build an express status between Thunder Bay and Chicago. So then I built this here. That took this line around Lake Michigan and took it all the way up to Thunder Bay. And we can see whether you have an express status on this long line, but when one has these long lines, and there's a mission crucial objective to just put up one train like this, pick the fastest train available to us, put it on express. Set up a maximum of one wagon. This is the best way to absolutely ensure that one will have achieve an express status, even though, because sometimes the ordinary line, the ordinary traffic will not be able to achieve it, but this train will definitely do that, as long as it isn't stopped by any of the slower trains. But then one can just delete the slower trains and then make sure that it has free passage. And then one line here as well up to Duluth also being part of the mission objectives to deliver goods up there. So then there is one extra line also coming all the way from Grand Rapids, two lines from Grand Rapids moving westward, one to Thunder Bay and one to Duluth. And then in Duluth, set up this warehouse system here. So then one line from Duluth going through Thunder Bay and then to White River. Would have been nice to make that into a circular zone as well, going around Lake Superior, but then I thought one line would do. There is so little here, so at least at this stage there didn't seem to be a practical need for it. Rather have this long lines, as long as they're not crisscrossing back and forth. We can then have a look at the flow of goods. Now things are starting to becoming a little bit more complicated. You can see with the wheat, we're trying to keep the wheat very local, not transport that for too long distances. It takes a lot of wheat to fulfill the demand. And if it isn't close by, then one will have very long hauls with a lot of wagons going back and forth. See, now we have this three station warehouse here, one docking station for wheat only that comes in here, and see if we want to have it on both stations. Yes, we wanted to have it here in the middle, and we also want it here. So now this wheat resource goes on to both zones, because there aren't any wheat down here in the Iowa zone. Here there are 3 stations, and none of these are docking stations. All of these 3 stations up here in the Luft, they have regular traffic. So then there will be corn here. See how the corn is flowing. Corn comes in here from north of Lake Superior, from Thunder Bay, and then the corn is being filled up here in this warehouse, and then there is no warehouse in the middle. These long lines, often there will be conflicts if one put up wheat. There's already there is wheat on this. There is corn, I mean, on this line already. I think corn is coming in from Grand Rapids here, docking station, and there might be corn here. Yes, there is corn coming in here, and then if corn was coming in here as well, that would make for a crisscrossing tendency where the different warehouses, the different resources were trying to supply both lines and going back and forth. So this corn here, it just kind of jumps over this middle, then the cars or carts or horses, they are dragging this past, and then corn coming in here. Having a closer look at what is happening in Grand Rapids, our central capital, has this docking station with corn and fruit coming in, and then here there will be corn and fruit is taking on from the docking station, in addition to an interchanging with sugar, vegetables, and lumber. We can see that it isn't entirely mirrored. Corn is not now going on to this station, because this Lake Erie zone, it already has corn coming in from Buffalo, and I rather rely on that corn from Buffalo filling up the Lake Erie zone, and the corn north of Grand Rapids moving only to this half moon around Lake Michigan, and further on up to Thunder Bay and Duluth. A little bit complicated with this. I think I will have to try to make a separate video and try to explain this, but it isn't so easy to just explain how these warehouses are functioning, and one sort of have to go through every which level and try it out. And one can at least see that with the setup that I'm using to have this sort of locked zones, that how to do this and how to move a resource from one zone to another. Have a particular look at this, how to grow these cities. The cities used to be very small. This used to be these little settlements, and the settlements, they only need lumber, but there was a lot of lumber here in the Ontario zone. It had access to meat here in Sault Ste. Marie, and wheat also very nicely placed on the zones. This was easy to grow it if a student has just built this circular path, trains going in both directions, 2 lumber resources and and 1 wheat, an extra wheat here up for White River, and then a butchery down in Sault Ste. Marie. Beer is often the least problem, but then there is a warehouse here where I'm trying to bring up extra wheat into this newly founded Ontario zone. But now I see that, there has popped up a brewery here in Val-d'Or. So now there will be a conflict. Didn't used to be so. There didn't used to be any beer up here. But the game recognizes this, and if there are opportunities to build something, then it's okay, but how much is supply and demand? Is there little supply and lots of demand? Then it will build a brewery, and it builds a brewery close to the wheat resource, a very nice brewery. But now we must turn off this to avoid this crisscrossing tendency that we saw. Don't have to do that right away, but as soon as demand is filled up on more on one side, and then the Val-d'Or brewery is trying to fill up, say, Toronto, while the brewery down here in Ottawa is trying to fill up, say, White River or Sault Ste. Marie, then there will be a warning triangle here in Sudbury. So then the best to keep it so that it only goes in one direction. But of course there is a lot of excess beer here around Lake Ontario. So to try to export some of that, at least up to Sudbury, but not further on, and down to London as well. Sugar. More sugar down here. There's some extra resources there, but we haven't got the money yet to build to access that. Much more important to connect the cities. Even small cities will grow a little bit, and they have these passengers that are the most profitable. So rather focusing on connecting cities, and then leave the resources a little bit behind, and rather connect them later on as soon as the money from the passenger traffic is coming in. Here, Rochester, there will need for a warehouse where cloth is exported from Des Moines to Minneapolis and Duluth. Here in Thunder Bay, warehouse here in White River that is now supplying the Ontario zone, and one down here in London, which is becoming quite nice and big now. It's grown by itself. It's producing 11 wagons per week, and one can see that all of these cities in around Lake Ontario is being entirely filled up only from the London warehouse. Milk had to go all the way now down from this resource here in Ontario through Sudbury, then further on to through London and then Cleveland, and trying its best to supply everybody. But then, of course, there isn't a lot of milk coming down to Pittsburgh, and hardly any around Lake Erie at all. But then it builds up by itself. We can buy it too and then bump it up on our own, but then that is very expensive, and I'd rather spend my money on laying 4-lane tracks and focusing more on passengers than absolutely controlling and owning all of these resources. The resources that they will grow by themselves, and then the cities will become bigger. And then the main point will be to make sure that one is able to pick up all of these passengers that is coming from Grand Rapids. They're producing more than 400 passengers and 400 mail per week. There's a lot of people waiting for transport now, so obviously we are not able to pick up all the passengers, and then there isn't so much point in growing these cities if one cannot pick up the passengers. So we can look at the budget just quickly and see now how things have changed. Freight is now less than half the revenue from passengers, and mail is being even more than passengers because due to the largeness of our railway empire. So there isn't so much need to supply these cities with more goods to make them grow even further. We will make a lot more money from just focusing on picking up the passengers that are already waiting at the stations. And now in December, almost 2 years of gameplay, we have been able to achieve most of the all actually, just a click away from achieving all our mission objectives. Achieved an express status between Pittsburgh and Ottawa, connected almost 1 million citizens to our rail network. All of the cities are growing really nicely now, and then the last crucial mission that I struggled with the last time I played through this, that 60 passengers from one side of the map to the other without changing trains. And then we will take a little bit of time to achieve 6 cities with 75,000 citizens or more. Should have focused more, not so much general growth, but rather focused particularly on the 6 cities. But anyways, let's see how we did this. First with the most crucial thing, to have built this extra line now, the extra station here, and then this is this mission crucial objective. It isn't the most profitable thing, it's kind of an expensive line to build it all the way from Syracuse to Buffalo, Ontario, Sault Ste. Marie, and up to Duluth and back and forth. And looking at how we set up this train now, we can see that it goes from Syracuse, but it skips Buffalo, and then it goes to Toronto and through Jones and Sault Ste. Marie in both directions and Duluth. And then if I now, it seems odd, but why would I skip Buffalo? But then if I put on Buffalo here now and make it go like this, like it should, I think. Then if we are now looking at the Syracuse and the passengers, how they go, see if we can find Duluth here all the way down. It's going via Buffalo, and then they don't count, and then you'll be sitting there waiting for an eternity for some passengers to go back and forth. So one has to be super careful about this. When the game says that the mission objective is without changing trains, then, and it's hard to why are they changing? Why you just have to do it like this? You have to delete that stop and then go back. Have a look, see Duluth. Okay, now it's no via. Now it goes absolutely directly. So then it's okay. And then why can they go to Toronto? I don't know. It has to do with how you place the station and which way is the fastest. The game and the passengers, they always want to take the fastest route, and I'm not really sure why why this is shorter than the other, and why they can go to Sault Ste. Marie and Toronto. But we just have to set up the line, put up all the stations as usual, and then go in and check. And if it goes via something when they shouldn't, delete that stop. On the way back, it isn't any problem, because you only have to transport from Syracuse to Duluth, and from Duluth to Syracuse. They can change back and forth as much as they want. This Pittsburgh Ottawa line, Pittsburgh used to be only connected to Cleveland with this little line here, but now that little line have grown to becoming a proper Western Express that actually goes all the way up to Val-d'Or and has 4 lanes, one of these dedicated passenger lines with special wagons, and one mixed line that takes care of the of the freight goods, mostly freight here, but one can see that they're becoming quite full. And then if one really focuses on wanting to grow the cities extra, one might actually now, if one were to flip this over to freight, there probably will be enough for them to do with the freight only, but then they will make much less money because freight goods aren't that profitable as passengers. So these mixed lines, it can sometimes be extra profitable because that's the best way to ensure that the trains are always full. The full trains being the best, even though they go a bit slower, and so they require more maintenance, perhaps, and more supplies, but still the personnel cost is much greater than the maintenance cost and fuel put together. And even if one put together interest rate, fuel, and maintenance, personnel is the absolute biggest expense that we have. As a little to do that, I always bump this up to 125 efficiency. So then my engineers, stokers, trained personnel, and security, they receive a lot of training because I really like them to be the best of the best. Looking at the train usage, one can see that even though I keep expanding, I have put 4-lane tracks all over, even here, up with these minuscule little cities. 4-lane tracks with mixed and passenger lines going parallel side by side. Not all of the places. I built this now. This is not a circle. This is the mission crucial line, but otherwise all of these lines that I had, most of them being expanded into 4-lane tracks. It is very fast and easy to just do it. You already build the system, and then you just go in and add parallels to it. Sometimes you have to delete a little bit and such, but I like to play so that it isn't too much of a hassle if one builds all these extra special things. But if I have built a great solution, one can just go in and kind of increase like this, and then wow, okay, if we turn it into an 8-lane track. And I did just that here because these original cities, they weren't growing anymore, because they were so high demands and so much traffic that only a 4-lane system weren't able to supply it all. So you can see here now that we have around Lake Erie 2 sets of passenger lines going parallel, and then we have the mixed one here, and then one particular just in order to make everybody grow, to have this freight only. That could be turned into, I see that there isn't that much freight really. Perhaps I should rather have a mixed line here as well. But then that's the way to sort of ensure that everybody is getting further growth. And then I really dig on growing the cities too. And of course that was the mission objective, to be growing 6 cities and to be having how many? 75,000 citizens per week. So then we can have a freight only line, and then I use the Santa Fe for that too, because Santa Fe is a really good. Not only is it a good mixed train, but it's also the best freight train. It is better than the mountain, the Santa Fe. It has a little bit more attractive power, and it has a higher speed. And then it doesn't. The mountain is really good because it has so little maintenance requirements, but it has a higher consumption, and but it has better reliability. So in some ways, the mountain is better because it's a really suited freight train. But I really dig on the Santa Fe. Santa Fe is one of my absolute favorites. built on a little extra line down here. Chicago, that was one of the things that Chicago is, yes, that Chicago is one of the cities that I want to grow into be having 75,000 citizens. And then I should have, but Chicago is not really on a circle. It is having one back and forth. So if I were to do this again, I would have built this line here from Chicago, Des Moines, sooner, to ensure that Chicago was getting enough milk and lumber and cloth from Des Moines coming in. That Chicago sort of stopped there at some point, and I should have perhaps focused more on that second last optional task. But then to sum it up, a quick look at flow of goods again. You know, the game has a lot to do about this flow of goods. One doesn't have to use the warehouses and don't have to use the setup that I do. But if one don't use the warehouses, then you won't have to build like Railway Empire 1, build long lines from every resource into every city. But now one can reuse the same. One don't have to build a new lines here with the milk here. Put milk into Syracuse, and then milk is now distributed on the already existing rails that we have laid. So there's no point in building a rail from Syracuse with milk, and then from one to Ottawa, and then to Val d'Or, and then one to Toronto, one to London. One just build one straight into Syracuse, build up a warehouse there, make sure that it goes on to the right station. I like this to have 3 stations, so that no milk goes on to here. There is milk being served otherwise, but then the milk is here in Syracuse, and then it goes on to this station only. And then to reuse the already existing infrastructure is in many ways clever, to make sure that everybody are as full as possible. Sometimes these trains become a little too full from this cleverness, but it's better to have 2 full trains than to have trains that carry too little. Lumber here, not so much have changed since last. And let's see if there were any problems there. Oh, this is also one of those things that might be a little bit problematic. When I now have, yes, I had to make this mission sensitive line here, and now we actually have these super long hauls all the way over there. There aren't any conflict, but these hauls now with lumber, and we just hope that Syracuse and Buffalo and Toronto are already being filled up. But if one now is having the lumber from way up north here, going into Duluth onto the mission sensitive line, long line, and going all the way to Toronto, and also here through 3 warehouses, Duluth, Madison, Grand Rapids, and London. That would be very long hauls, and one only get paid at the end for delivering these goods. Nobody pays you for taking them all the distance, and then that would rather be that wouldn't be very profitable. So then I would rather not have that, and then that has to do with these super long lines. Than to rather build small compact circles, often make for a great revenue, and then we can see that our revenues are really good now. Almost 7 million a week. We can buy up whatever factories and such, even though they are becoming quite expensive. See with this 3.6 million to buy that up. But still, now all the cities are connected, and most of the cities have 4-lane tracks. we can start buying up a lot of industries. See if there were anything else. Sugar here, little complicated setup. One can see now the sugar going back and forth there in some weird manner. Sugar is coming in like this through Cleveland now. And then this sugar here, what are they doing? Ooh, that's not so good. We have to turn this off, I think. I have just forgotten about it. Probably alright. One can wait a little bit because these problems they don't occur right away. It is if they were set up for a long time, and now this here, yes, that's much better. That sugar resource should only supply this Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Ottawa, Val-d'Or line, while this sugar here that is already on the Lake Erie circle, it should be kept on Lake Erie, and then yeah, I think we can go to Grand Rapids and further on up here without making any fuss. I think one here in Rochester, supplying both Iowa and Minnesota. That will do okay, I think. Cloth, much the same. Oh, there's a new wavery down here in Sudbury. Computer was that was nice. You know, so certainly the computer would build the wavery here because someone built a brewery here in Val-d'Or, and it built a wavery in Sudbury because they are close to this. These resources, these natural resources that are needed for the factories, and also there is demand now. So now, and then here we have the same thing. I have to now turn off this this warehouse here. No more changing cloth, because now there are cloth on the Ontario zone like that. So now Thunder Bay can supply only these cities, while the Lake Ontario, while the Ontario zone is being taken care of by its own nice little factory. Often with these factories and such, there isn't so much point in trying to distribute them all over. If one doesn't buy them up, then supply will be much less than the demand. So then they will only have enough to supply their own region, their own zone. Actually starting to become a little bit of demand for cement. Cement comes in very, very late in the game. But there is some here. Yeah, Buffalo. Buffalo being absolutely exploding because it's part of so many different zones and circles. Well, then I guess that pretty much sums it up. Yes, scenario completed. Newspapers are filled with reports. We made for a pretty okay, decent score. Still got some time to complete the last mission objective. If I played this again, I would focus more on building up these 6 cities. That's a pretty decent ranking. System looking like this will be okay, I think. So then one can feel free to like and subscribe, make me a happy man. Leave some comments if you are wondering about anything, and then hope to see you next time, and then goodbye. Enjoy the game.